Hello ESL Center faculty. This is Dr. Jeff Judge and I'm the ESL Center Director, and I want to give you a mini tutorial about how to calculate final grades. So what I've done here is I've created a small chart of a sample class with two different students, and I want to go through this so you can see how to calculate your final grades. Now, here is a typical class grade distribution where you have participation in tasks might be worth 10% of your total grade, weekly quizzes might be worth 60% of your total grade, and then your comprehensive final exam 30%. These percentages might change. You could have a fourth area of whatever, homework assignments or whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter, but this total has to equal 100%. Now, just to show you how this works, what I've done is created example scores where each one has a 100% total possible scores. And so with Joe here, here's his quizzes. Quiz 1, 80, 71, 55, quiz 4, 0, all the way to quiz 7. With participation, he got a 90%. I had in my class 3 different tasks, whatever they were. Maybe they were in-class assignments or an essay, and these are his 3 scores for that. And then he got a 60% on his final exam. So, to calculate the final grade for Joe, the first thing I'm going to do, now you know that a lot of times we drop one of the quizzes, so I'm going to drop this quiz number 4 because it's the lowest, obviously. And then so I'm going to add up these 6 quizzes, and then I add them up and I get 394. Now if I am calculating out of 6 quizzes instead of 7 because I dropped the lowest quiz, the total quiz score is 600, right? Because there's 6 quizzes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so that's 600. So Joe got a total of 394 out of 600 possible quizzes. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add up his participation in tasks, and I have them here, right? Participation 90, 67, 71, 71, and he got 299, or 299 out of 400, right? Because there's 4 different grades, each 100 points each. And then Joe got a 60 on the final exam. So, the 3 different areas, participation tasks, weekly quizzes, and comprehensive final exam. So let's look now at how to calculate it. Remember his quizzes, he got a 394 out of 600. So I'm going to calculate 394 divided by 600. And Joe got a .6566, which I'm putting here, percentage out of the quizzes. And remember, the quizzes are worth 60%. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply take this total score and I'm going to multiply by 60%. And so Joe got a .394 total for his quizzes. And that's here. Now remember, participation in tasks, he got a 299 out of 400. So I'm going to calculate 299 divided by 400. And Joe got a .7475, which is here. Remember that participation in tasks are 10% of the total. So let's calculate how much that would be multiplied by 10%. And that's .07475, and I'm putting that number here. Now remember, his final exam, he got a 60, so I can simply convert that into a decimal point by going back and putting it 0.60. And remember, the final exam is worth 30%, so I'm going to take 0.60 multiplied by 30% of the total, and then Joe got a 0.18 total score for his final exam. So now we simply need to add quizzes of the 60% total here, participation in tasks here, and the final exam here. I'm going to add these three up, and then Joe got a 0.64875, or if we convert that into a percentage, 64.87, by simply taking your decimal point and moving it over two spaces, and then you have a 64.87, or rounded up, a 65%. That is what Joe got as a final grade using this grade distribution. Now let's look at one more student. Let's look at Mo here, and we're going to do the same thing. Now you can use a calculator, or if you use Excel, you can use the formulas. So let's first look at the quiz totals for Mo. Now to use the formulas, to add, I'm going to do an equal, and then I'm going to do a sum. So just do capital SUM and then an open parentheses, and then I'm going to select, well actually I want to drop the lowest. So the lowest here would be 49, so I'm going to not include that. So select what I want to add and then put plus signs between. Putting a plus sign here. And then I'm going to close the parentheses and then simply press enter. And sorry, I got that extra plus sign. There we go. So his total for quizzes was 387 points. Now remember, it's 387 out of 600 total. If we do 387 divided by 600, it's 0.645. And then I'm going to multiply that by 60%, 0.387. So this is the percentage, the 60% of his weekly quizzes. Now let's look at participation in tasks. Here are his 4 participation in tasks grades, so I'm going to add these. Again, you can use a calculator, or if you're using Excel, you can use a formula like this. And I'm simply going to add these 4, close my parentheses, and then I have 202 is what he got for the total participation. So then I'm going to take 202, remember it's 202 out of a possible 400. 202 divided by 400 is 0.505. I'll put that here. And then I'm going to, we know the participation in tasks is 10% of the total grade. I'm going to multiply that by 10%. It's 0.0505. And then the final grade for Mo is 66. Let's convert that into a decimal point. So it's 0.66. And so we simply need to take 0.66 multiplied by, remember the final exam is 30%, and that's 0.198, 0.198, and then we're simply going to add the quiz total plus participation in tasks total plus the final exam total. And then he has a 63.55 63.55, or let's round it up to a 64% total. This is a very manual way to do your grades. Obviously, if you're using nGrade or Blackboard, it's more automatic once you have it set up. With Blackboard, you can set these three up by categories, which I will show you in another tutorial. If you have any questions, let me know, but this is the basics on calculating your grade. It looks more complicated than it is. Once you do 2 or 3 of these, it'll be very easy.